It has been a dramatic day for Donald Trump. We've just heard Adam Schiff accuse him of obstruction in the Democrats' impeachment report. This comes as the president joins world leaders gathering to mark the 70th anniversary of NATO. The alliance meant to combat common external threats is instead being defined by fierce infighting. Ian Bremmer is the president of the Eurasia Group. He joins us live now. So you listened to that press there with Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. He talked about the various sham investigations. He talked about the president trying to get Ukraine to do his political dirty work, accusations of obstruction of justice. He said that if American citizens do not sanction that kind of behavior, there will indeed be dire consequences. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not up to American citizens to sanction it. It's up to the House of Representatives first, and then the Senate, and the Democrats are going to sanction it, and the Republicans are not.
But independent voters punishing the Republicans in the polls, though?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. That has a lot more to do with the nomination. Impeachment's clearly going to play. It is bringing the Democrats together in that regard. If they end up with a strong progressive as the nominee, I think it'll matter a little bit less because people are so angry about Trump, so expect turnout to be higher. But, you know, you also have in every single swing state, unemployment is lower today than it was when Trump was elected. People care a lot about the economy, and most Republicans you talk to say that they haven't learned very much new over the course of the last 2 weeks of public hearings. So, I mean, frankly, there was a little bit of wobbling in the Senate at the beginning. Maybe there'd be a censure when they thought there were other shoes that were going to drop. So far, what we've learned is a hell of a lot of proof that really plays out what we heard in that original transcript, redacted transcript from the phone call between Trump and Zelensky. We haven't heard anything particularly broader than that. And so as a consequence, I don't think it's going much farther.
Okay, let's talk about NATO. Obviously, the summit is underway in London. Now, the alliance has had to change and adapt to a changing global environment. Obviously, the world is very different now than it was in 1949 when the alliance first started. Just walk us through the various threats that NATO is having to contend with, particularly the threat from China.
Yeah, well, I mean, China certainly is the biggest concern for the United States strategically out there, economically, technologically, and increasingly militarily, certainly when you talk about the Asian theater. But a lot of Europeans don't feel that way, right? I mean, certainly the Turks don't. They feel differently on the Russians as well. The issue is not that NATO is broken as an alliance. We're spending more. There are more troops, actually.
Militarily, they're actually very strong right now.
They are, but politically...
It's infighting.
It's not just infighting. It's that the world has shifted. You know, when you create institutions, those institutions are strong, but they won't move very quickly. But the balance of power in the world changes dramatically. The Soviet Union's collapsed. China has risen. Those things are extraordinary, but NATO hasn't changed one iota. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that NATO at 70 is starting to show some stretch marks, right? And that's the problem that we have right now. And that would be true even if Macron didn't think he could score points at home by beating up on Trump, who's incredibly unpopular in France, playing out on trade right now, too. It's even true if we hadn't elected Trump, who doesn't care very much about U.S. multilateral relations.
So one topic that there is a lot of contention between Emmanuel Macron and President Trump is, of course, the issue of trade. There have been retaliatory back and forth with France's digital tax on American companies. President Donald Trump announcing that he was going to retaliate. What is the smartest way? I mean, Bruno Le Maire commented on this today. What is the smartest way for France, or rather the EU more broadly, to handle this?
Well, number one, Trump is right. The Europeans don't have these tech companies. So as a consequence, it's very easy and politically popular for them to go after technology, big tech, big data, like all the traffic in Paris. We get a hell of a lot in traffic because of Amazon deliveries in New York City, but that's our company, so we're not going to hit them. Easy to do that. I also mentioned that Trump is very unpopular, particularly in France. Easy for Macron to hit him. They assume that Trump is going to be very constrained because he focuses on the stock market very closely. Today says he doesn't watch this market. That's clearly not true.
Not true at all.
And the elections are coming up. But the markets are doing very well. Trump knows that. You know that. I know that. And so he has a little bit more flexibility. This week, he talked about the Chinese, a little tougher, said maybe we won't get a deal until after elections. Markets dived on that.
We're actually looking at the Dow right now down 300
That's
points
where
as a result of the
on that.
November 2020 comments that we won't get a trade deal until then.
And we've got Argentina. And we've got Brazil with steel and aluminum. And now you're talking about Zut alors hitting the French on handbags and champagne, right? So, I mean, look, I don't think that all of these are going to amount to another round of serious tariff expansion. But clearly Trump is feeling like he has the ability to lean in a bit after, over the last few months, everyone said this guy has to get a deal or otherwise his presidency is sunk. He's not feeling that way right now.
Right, Ian Bremmer, always good to have you. Thank you so much.